Ladies and gentlemen, welcome live to the Daytona International Speedway for tonight's Kirkwood Transportation Duels. I'll tell you what, we're setting the field for next week's Glass Door Brewing 250 here for the Hacksaw PC's American Sim Racing Series, and this should be an absolute doozy. I'm Peter Short, and joining me in the booth here tonight is Charles Sears, and I'll tell you what, Charles, whenever these guys go to Daytona here under the lights, it is something always special, and, racing with these tapered spacers here around this racetrack should be an absolute spectacular race. What are you expecting to see here tonight?
Yeah, thank you, Peter. I honestly don't know what to expect. The special scenario for these two heat races right now they're 30 minutes long, but only 40 laps. So realistically, if they go caution free, we can get all 40 laps in. But one caution, then all of a sudden these laps are going to go down by probably like one caution is probably going to take off, I would imagine, like 8 laps of total ran, maybe even more. I don't know. It's going to be crazy, and I'm looking for some tight, good racing up front, some heavy changing, some good lane shifting, possibly 3 wide as well. Shout out to 3 wide TV right there.
Absolutely.
So,
I was just going to say, man, I'm expecting to see some great 3 wide action. I know we got to see it last year here on 3 wide TV that these American Sim Racing Series drivers know how to get things done. And I'll tell you what, there are 43 drivers currently competing for 26 spots on tonight's grids. Now, there are going to be 40 drivers who make it into next week's race, the Glass Door Brewing 250 here in tonight's Kirkwood Duels. But I'll tell you what, 14 drivers are automatically locked in from last year's points. Those drivers include Jason Stewart, Jared Haggerty, Jimmy McKee, Tyler Seville, Steve Buhala, Richard Stallings, Alan Young, Troy Haight, Will Worsler, Kelsey Rogers, Tim Knott, Richard Fletcher, Mitch Brown, and Alex Giese. Those drivers don't have to worry about how these races go because they're already locked in. But if you're one of the other drivers in this field, there's multiple ways to get in. First off, the top 8 from each duel make it into next week's show. Qualifying is very, very important because then the next 8 drivers to make it in are the top 8 in qualifying. And then you have the 2 last ways, which firstly, you have the promoters option and then the past champions provisional. Now, if the promoters option or the past champions provisional make it into the field another way, then those positions go to the 9th and 10th place qualifiers. So qualifying here at Daytona is going to be oh so important here as we get prepared for these Kirkwood Duels. But you see the beautiful 2.5 mile Daytona International Speedway, the world center of racing, as you can see it plastered up there high atop the main grandstand in the Tri-Oval. But should be a spectacular race. Got to give a shout out to some of the American Sim Racing Series sponsors. Hacksaw PC, of course, jumping on board this year for 2020 as the Premier Series title sponsor. Very, very cool to have them. You see right down there at the bottom of your screen the Hacksaw banners. Make sure you check them out if you're in the market for a new PC. Maybe you want to run iRacing yourself here and join the American Sim Racing Series. Well, go check them out. Surf Pro, of course, is actually pretty cool. One of the drivers here in the American Sim Racing Series has gotten the Surf Pro from the local area I'm in to jump on board. So Surf Pro sponsoring the American Sim Racing Series this year. We got DB Sim Racing, American Regardless. Go check out some of their closing here online. Glass Door Brewing, the title sponsor of the 250-mile race next week. Victory Lane Quick Oil Change, Kirkwood Transportation, Patriot Media and Marketing, Step Tire, and Falcon Race Wraps. Also our Sim Series sponsors. But I believe that we're now going to shift over into the qualifying session as the practice session here has ended. And you can see that the track conditions have changed here, but we're going to step away for just a brief moment, play a quick commercial. I'll be right back for qualifying.
Life happens everywhere, like it never even happened. Only happens here. The cleanup and restoration specialists at 1-800-SERVPRO and servpro.com.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Daytona International Raceway. Got a quick little commercial in there from one of the new series sponsors, Surf Pro. Great to see them on board this year for the 2020 Hacksaw PC's American Sim Racing Premier Series. But I'll tell you what, Charles, already a couple of race cars out there on the racetrack here around this 2.5-mile racetrack. Why don't we drive on board with the number 99 machine of Clarence Bonner, currently headed off into turn number 3 and 4. Let's see if we can possibly get as we possibly have lost some communications here, unfortunately, with the host here. But nonetheless, we're going to do kind of a radio broadcast style as Clarence Bonner currently out there on the racetrack. Who else are you seeing out there on the racetrack, Charles?
Let's see. I'm looking around and I'm not seeing anyone yet. I'm going down the thing. Looks like Ethan Adams is taking in the number 88 car. Man, Peter, I am so excited. First race of 2020 officially. It's about to begin, getting the qualifying done. And like I said earlier, like I am so amped to see all of the excitement that we're about to experience. I mean, what a way to start the season off with two 40-lap Daytona 500 or Daytona 500, two 40-lap Daytona races back to back. This is exciting. We're going to have, 24 drivers, possibly 26 drivers qualified after this race. So this is very exciting. It looks like we got 55 Brian. How do you pronounce that, Peter? Is that Yazik?
That's Brian Yazik in the number 55 machine.
Yazik. He's coming to the start-finish line. Sorry about that. Technical difficulties, everyone. We will be right back.
Yeah, we will be. We'll be right back with the broadcast here as we can take you through the qualifying session. Already a couple drivers starting.
The most realistic online
Life
racing
happens
sim
everywhere,
ever made.
like it never even happened.
This
only happens
is
here.
iRacing.
The cleanup and restoration specialists at 1-800-SERVPRO.
Detailed
and
laser scan tracks, fully dynamic real-world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $100,000 in annual prizes. This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
Life happens everywhere. Like it never even happened, only happens here. The cleanup and restoration specialists at 1-800-SERVPRO and ServPro.com.
Yeah, it's a big mess. But don't worry, cleanup's already underway.
When the things that matter most are on the line, make sure we are too. The disaster recovery team at 1-800-SERVPRO. Like it never even happened.
Reluctant.
Life will change you. There ain't nothing you
The most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is iRacing. Detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic real world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $100,000 in annual prizes. This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
Every day in business starts with a number. Output, productivity, efficiency, all measured in numbers. Because data drives decisions. And if fire or water damage strikes, the numbers for your business can slow or even stop. Unless you know this one, 1-800-SERVPRO, the #1 choice in commercial cleanup and restoration.
Yeah, it's a big mess. But don't worry, cleanup's already underway.
When the things that matter most are on the line, make sure we are too. The disaster recovery team at 1-800-SERVPRO. Like it never even happened.
Life happens everywhere. Like it never even happened, only happens here. The cleanup and restoration specialists at 1-800-SERVPRO and servpro.com.
The most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is iRacing. Detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic real world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $100,000 in annual prizes. This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
Who is it? Oh, this is Peter's screen. Okay. Come on, Peter, hit spacebar. You got the info, Carlos? Oh, on Discord.
Okay, well, you have to share your screen again, I think.
Well, I can't see anything.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Daytona International Speedway. Still fighting some technical gremlins here as qualifying has just wrapped up. And I'll tell you what, it was a very, very close qualifying session, but it is the number 95 machine of Danny Rogers who was the fastest qualifier, and he will start this first heat from the pole. Currently, the whole first grid is lining up. Looks like in this first qualifying session, we're going to have, first heat, we're going to have 22 cars take to the grid here. And fantastic for Danny Rogers, as he was not one of the drivers already locked into next week's Glass Door Brewing 250. But we got the first of the two Kirkwood Transportation Duels lined up for you. Danny Rogers starting on the pole. The 84 of Woody Mahan will be starting to his outside. And really, the top three drivers in qualifying only separated by 8/1000ths of a second, so Woody Mahan just missed out on the pole. Starting from the third position, Dave Wilson in the number 61 machine. Fourth position in this heat will be Andy Veltman. Fifth, Pete Baskin. Sixth, on the outside of row number 3, Michael Whiting in the number 22 machine. John Broussard will roll off on the inside of row number 4. In the 8th position will be Tony Schoen in the 33 machine. 9th, Nick Cohan. And following him in the 10th position, Travis McDaniel. In the 11th position, Shane Parrish. 12th position, Clarence Bonner. 13th, Brian Yazik. 14th position, Michael Krobach. 15th, Lee Staples in the number 26 machine. 16th, Brandon Key. Jake Douglas, 17th. 18th goes to Mike Rigney in the 00 machine. Jay Crable will roll off in this one from 19th. 20th, Eric Stanford. 21st, Jackson Van Valkenburg, and rounding out to a 22-car field for the first of the two Kirkwood Transportation Duels is Brad Lee in the number 14 machine. So I'll tell you what, it's going to be a spectacular show here as we are hopefully going to get everything rolling here in just a brief moment here on 3 Wide TV. But the green flag is in the flag man's hand as the field is just now coming out of turn number 4, rolling down at only 79 miles an hour behind the Ford Mustang pace car. And I'll tell you what, the race in the hands of the number 95 machine of Danny Rogers. He's got iRacing on the hood, and there is the green flag. We're off and away here at Daytona, the first of the two Kirkwood Duels. And I'll tell you what, this whole field hoping they can get away nice and neatly as the field already racing off into turn number 1. They're side by side right at the front. The 84 machine, Woody Mahan, on the outside of the number 95 of Danny Rogers. And 95 gets a good shot from the number 61 machine of Dave Wilson on the inside, sporting the 3 Wide TV colors on that Chevrolet. It looks like those two tucked up right now. Woody Mahan still getting a run on the outside. Finally, he's been able to get hooked up with Andy Veltman in the number 97 machine. But so far, the inside line holding strong here at the Daytona International Speedway as we come to complete lap number 1 around this joint. There you go, already a little bit of 3 wide, a little bit further back as we're finally getting everything sorted out for you here on 3 Wide TV, getting these technical gremlins out of the way. Good to get them out of the way here at the beginning of the 2020 Hacksaw PC's Premier Series. And there is that number 95 machine, like I said. The 95 currently driven by Danny Rogers, fastest in qualifying, and right behind him, Dave Wilson in that number 61 machine. And I'll tell you what, Charles, already a good start to this first duel.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of action, Peter, early on in this race. We got 4 laps in, we got 36 to go. Up front, there's running 2 lanes. Looks like about 5 or 6 cars are in that high line. The rest of this front pack is in the low line. Looks like we got 8 cars up in the high line now. Coming out of turn 4.
Well, it's actually pretty interesting to see that says 36 laps to go. Of course, the graphics package is actually compensating. Remember how we said this is either a 40-lap race or a 30-minute race. That 37 laps to go is currently calculated based off of how long it has taken them to complete the first 2 laps. So interestingly enough, Charles, it doesn't look like, even if we stay green, that we will get to the full 40 laps. And based off of the last lap time, which was a 46-second lap, which is just over 3/4 of a minute, we won't reach that distance, I don't think. So It's going to be interesting to see whether or not we get to 40 laps, but as of right now, we'll see ATVO adjust this time by, as you see the field dicing, but currently your race leader still Danny Rogers in that number 95 machine. Let's see, 36 laps to go. So ATVO is predicting that this race is going to end a little bit short off the 40 lap distance.
Oh, that's really exciting, Peter, because another thing that came to mind, fuel. Can these cars make it 40 laps in fuel or 30 minutes in fuel?
I don't think they can make it 40 laps on fuel. I mean, they might.
That seems like it's pushing it
almost. They almost might be able to make the 36 laps, which that is currently being shown. But that will have to be something we keep an eye on as this race continues. I mean, you got to think some of the drivers a little bit further back in the pack with all that draft are going to be saving fuel here. And thinking about that, there's a lot of software in the iRacing community, such as Joel Real Timing, that actually live calculates how much fuel you're going to need. So we'll have to see if some of these drivers are thinking about that, especially those with a lot of draft back in the pack, like that bright yellow number 55 machine. That's Brian Yazik. Got to victory lane right at the end of last season in the Premier Series. It was great to see Yazik finally get to victory lane, because it seemed like he always had the worst luck in that number 55 machine, but a new paint scheme on that ride and hoping to take it to victory lane here again tonight. But for right now, Danny Rogers still leading the way up front in that iRacing.com Toyota Camry.
Yeah, this is an important race for a position, because remember, top 8 finishers automatically qualify for the main race next week. But keep in mind, running up front, your pedal is pretty much to the floor at all times. So that 95 is going to be consuming a lot of gas very quickly compared to like the people pushing them like the 61, the 27, the 53. They can let off and still not lose a lot of time because of the draft. So this might be a thing where being up front might not be a good thing when it comes down to, it says right now 34 laps to go. So it looks like we're having some great side-by-side action up front in the top 8, top 10. Just essentially almost everyone in this pack is pretty close. Run side by side. We've got the high line, enough cars in the line and high line to make both lines work and be very competitive. Who's this purple car, Peter?
That we're riding on board with the number 84 machine, Woody Mahan, trying to go for the race lead. He was making a good job of it, being pushed by the number 97 of Andy Veltman here. And Veltman's really sucked up to that back bumper of that number 84 machine. Look at them kind of dance down the backstretch. You see that number 97 pushing that number 84 machine, and Dave Wilson's pushing the number 95 on the bottom line. So definitely hooked up. Those front 4 really hooked up right now here at the front of the first of the 2 Kirkwood Duels, the 100-mile, 40-lap races that we're going to have here. That's going to set the lineup for next week's Glass Door Brewing 250 here on 3Y TV. Same time, same place at the Daytona International Speedway. Well, keep an eye on that number 95 machine. Danny Rogers showed that muscle in qualifying to start out front here, and so far he has kept that thing right up front. But yeah, Woody Mahan mounting that charge once again around the high side.
And as we go down the backstretch, we got high lines and cars sharing the low line. Looks like we got a pack of 5 trailing back there. They might be serving gas. They might have worked out something where I'm telling you, man, like, this is on my mind, Peter, about the gas thing. Because, like, if I remember correctly, I don't know if these cars can make it. Like, I'm trying to remember, like, when the last time I ran at Daytona was, and it probably was in July. But this is definitely going to be an exciting last couple laps for this race. That's for sure.
That is, of course, that is, of course, whether or not we get the big one. Ooh, looks like maybe some car having a little bit of connection issues there, maybe a little bit of smoke. But for right now, Danny Rogers is backing out down below the yellow line, and that is not good for that number 95 machine. They became detached right up there at the front. Oh, look at this, 3 wide for the race lead. Veltman's going to go high. What's Veltman going to do? He's going to duck back in behind the number 84. So all of a sudden, things getting a little bit dicey up at the front here, as we have just under 32 laps to go, 31 laps to go. As, oh man, I thought there was going to be contact right there in the tri-oval a little bit further back, and all of a sudden these drivers starting to become a little bit impatient, And, we still have a lot of race to go. There's a couple drivers like Shane Parrish, Eric Stanford, both of those drivers in the Surf Pro machines hanging out back. You can see those bright green and orange machines. Got a little bit of flame on the front and water on the back. I don't know if you know what Surf Pro does, but they are in the business of cleaning up big-time messes in houses. So that's what the fire and the water is kind of indicating there. But those guys are just kind of laying back, being patient back there, but up towards the front. I'll tell you what, these race car drivers are getting a little bit racy. I know they want to lead those laps here in the early going here in the first of the two Kirkwood duels.
Yeah, the 84 of Mahan, the purple car right there, he needs to be careful. Looks like we got some action highlighting.
Yeah, Andy Veltman in the number 97 machine saved it. And what a save. Andy Veltman, though, is going to go from fourth, all the way back to the last car in the lead lap. There you see it on the replay. Bounced off the outside retaining wall multiple times in that number 97 machine. We'll have to see if we can get
great heads-up play by everyone.
Yeah, everyone does a good job of avoiding that. Let's see this one more time. Looks like he just got loose on entry into the corner and started washing down the racetrack and saved it. Right on board with him. You can see him trying to saw that wheel and unfortunately made that heavy contact with the outside wall. And now he finds himself 22nd in this field. Now, the good news for Andy Veltman is he was one of the fastest qualifiers. So that will help him out significantly in making it into next week's show. But at least for now, Andy Veltman finds himself well back in the field, and he is well off the pace with all that damage. But jumping back up to the front, nothing has really happened. There's Andy Veltman way back, and we got some three-wide action a little bit further up. And that would be the number 49 machine of Jake Douglas out there on the high side, trying to make some noise by himself, doing battle with the number 33 machine of Tony Schoen.
Oh, and it looks like he's trying to push the car outside, and it looks like he might fall in line to the... Man, that was definitely a really impressive skill of driving by all cars, including the one that spun out. That's one thing I noticed with this new package, new tire model, even though it has been out now for about a couple months now. One thing I did notice, if you're second or third line in draft, it can easily get wobbly on you, like we just saw. If you turn just a little bit too much, like the car tends to just try to snap down and go on the apron. So, I mean, great heads up driving by everyone in this field by not causing the big one that it definitely easily could have been there. But we got some tight racing up front. We got 14, 15 cars in this lead pack right now, just going at it. Probably more than that now. Now looking at the number, 95 still out front, still taking the charge on this race. But I think it's definitely going to come down to gas mileage. Is this going to be a make it or break it thing for the 95 where he might have to back in line? How did the 95 do in qualifying?
Yeah, getting word right now that Danny Rogers has been issued a black flag of sorts to drop to the end of the field for connection issues. And he got caught. He caught the apron there just a little bit. Now he's washing up the racetrack. This is not good for Danny Rogers. He's gone from first all the way back. Good news, though, is he was the fastest qualifier, so that will help him get through. But right now, connection issues has shuffled things up at the front, and now Dave Wilson in the number 61 machine has taken that three-wide TV machine up to the front. Got to do a little bit of a self-plug, and that number 61 machine is your new race leader. Let's see if we can possibly jump in to listen to the spotter on that number 61 machine.
You're going to push. Side by side behind you. You're clear. Clear of both lines. Second place car is now also clear. He's not going to make a move to the top, though. The guys at his quarter. They're all covered behind you. Side by side behind you. You're clear. Not pushing on the top lane. Still side by side behind you there. You're not going to get a shove. They're not shoving on the top. Side by side on entry. Still there at your quarter. Still there quarter. They're not locked together. You're not locked together. You'll be side by side on entry. quarter, clear of the top line. They'll surge back on exit, hold your line. Still their quarter. Now clear. He does not have a helper, no push.
Man, Peter, that 95 car, he's definitely a big benefit of being the fastest qualifier today. So he's already locked into Daytona. Unfortunately, he won't be able to improve his position anymore, it looks like. But having that secure, locked-in spot already, you know, he's sort of a little frustrated in the moment. But at the end of the day, like, you know, he's still walking away feeling happy because he's still going to be at the final dance when it's all said and done.
Yeah, absolutely, and that is good for him. But what about Dave Wilson there and his spotter doing some absolute work? That, of course, is the spotting of Wayne Lowe, who's a feature in one of the other leagues that we broadcast here on 3-Wide TV. Both of them each and every week doing some fantastic work. And I tell you what, you know, you listen to spotters like Wayne Lowe, and you start to think about Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s former spotter back when he was in the Cup Series. He was an iRacer that he met iRacing, and that was pretty cool that Dale Jr. were able to make a spotter. But now we're on board with the number 22 machine, and I'll tell you what, this number 22 machine of Michael Whiting, he started this heat back in the 6th position, now running in the 4th position. So he's gained a couple positions, and most of that was due to Andy Veltman's little snafu that happened a little bit ago. But let's ride on board here with Tony Schoen, and he's got a car right in front of him. That is Travis McDaniels. A little bit of right rear damage on that number 65 machine as they head off into turn number 1, and I can't help but think that was possibly induced from the number 97 of Andy Veltman's issue. If you're an Andy Veltman fan, he has dropped 22 seconds off the field here, which is definitely not what you want to have happen with a whole bunch of damage. Danny Rogers, 14.9 seconds off the backfield, kind of just like what you were mentioning, Charles. But we have, right now, a 20-car lead pack.
20-car lead pack, and as they come to the start-finish line, looks like on the ticker, it's 20 to go. I don't know if that's the 20th lap right now, or just 20 that time is allotted, but this is definitely a very tight race, as we just heard from the spotters. You know, just constantly information about side-by-side, pushing, side-by-side. But it looks like the leader's out in front, sort of pulling away, making that bottom line work. It looks like the bottom line is kind of tight, but that top line, they're not ready to come down. They're trying to make that top line work, and they're just going. And it looked like we had some mix-up with the 27 trying to take the lead away from the 61 for a little bit a couple laps ago.
Well, the 27 of Pete Baskins has dropped in line once again behind Dave Wilson in that number 61 machine. But got to give a shout-out to Pete Baskins on the rear of that number 27 machine. It says, "Get well soon, Sandy and a Jim." Of course, that is an allusion to Jim Foose's family. Hope they do get well as we now ride on board with the number 53 machine of John Broussard. You can see that comment there, and a couple cars sporting that here tonight. You'll see on the racetrack, Brian Yazik is another one of those race cars. He's currently just outside the top 10 in the 55 HPPsimulations.com Ford as they race through turn number 3 and 4. But I gotta say, you know, Charles, we saw around lap number 10, the field really got racy, and then all of a sudden they saw what happened to Andy Veltman, and I really think they've toned it down just a little bit. They've seen what kind of issues you can get yourself into, and they're just kind of riding right now. And back up at the front, it's kind of been yo-yoing back and forth between Dave Wilson and the 84 of Woody Mahan. Good showing out of Woody Mahan in that bright purple 84 machine. As I can say, Dave Wilson, good showing from both of them. Of course, weren't in the Premier Series last year, and up here at the front in the first of the 2 Kirkwood Transportation Duels.
Yeah, this is definitely very not as racy, like you said, Peter, as it was at the start. But I think a lot of these drivers up front, and even the ones at the tail back of this front pack, just realize there's no need to be there, no need to race, put your car up at risk, because still we have at least 17 laps to go, and plenty of time to make moves up front. The other big thing is the front guys aren't racing as badly because they're pretty much already locked in just off of qualifying time. I would imagine at least half the people running up front, in the front like 10, like at least 4 of those drivers are locked in just off of qualifying time. So they're just taking it easy. They don't need to race. They don't need to wreck out. And another way of looking at it, you put your car at risk, you're potentially putting other cars at risk as well. So, you really don't want to ruin anyone else's race. So I think this is a smart way of taking this race right now, is just coast along, see what happens. And then once you get down to like 2 laps to go, that's when we're probably going to see a lot more action going on, a lot more pushing. We're probably going to see the backpacks, the Serve Pro cars in the back that's been hanging out there the entire time saving gas. We're probably about to see them take a charge very shortly.
I'll tell you what, I just saw the number 14 machine, Bradley. Looks like he got loose coming out of turn number 2. He had to check up for a car in front of him who cut down in front of him. He checked up, and it really broke the rear end of that number 14 machine. Pretty good save out of that bright orange Hacksaw PC machine. He also has the Skalicki's Auto Repair on the front of that Chevrolet. Can't miss that bright orange machine. Good looking race car, that number 14 machine here tonight. But he's one of those drivers who needs to race himself in. But do remember, the top 8 finishers who are not already locked in to this race, or I should say next week's race, in this duel will move on to the Glass Door Brewing 250. So that's very, very important to try and get as high up in the field as you can. But for right now, everyone just kind of riding it out up near the front. Let's keep an eye on that number 99 machine. That number 99 machine is driven by Clarence Bonner. He is not locked in coming into tonight's race. So that number 99 machine is hoping to get a good finish there. He is right in the middle of your screen, that Kirkwood Transportation Toyota, right behind the number 53 of John Broussard. And what about the number 65 machine of Travis McDaniel, who highlighted that he had a little bit of right rear damage, currently riding in the 5th or 6th position, depending on who's ahead at the line. But we're starting to see a good charge here from that outside line. And there you go. The number 84 machine, Woody Mahan's going to cut down in front. New race leader, Woody Mahan's taking the lead from Dave Wilson in that number 61 machine. So we'll see what Dave can do, whether Dave is going to try and get this position back. But now your front 2 have kind of broken away single file. But as I say that, here comes Michael Whiting in the 22 machine. He's trying to pull alongside with Dave Wilson. So that bright yellow and black machine, the Brookside Equipment Sales 22 Ford, is trying to get himself side by side up for the race lead. As we quickly saw, Andy Veltman on pit road at the number 97 machine has a bunch of damage and has now fallen 2 laps down. So I don't think we'll see Andy Veltman any more here tonight. Luckily for him, he was one of the fastest qualifiers, and we'll get into the big dance next week in that regard. But I'll tell you what, here we go with only 13 laps to go, Charles, and things starting to get a little bit more racy finally.
Yeah, definitely, especially with the move that the 84. Yeah, sorry about the miscommunication sometimes. We're having technical difficulties. But when the 84 jumped from the high line to the low line, that sort of shocked me. I was like, why are you going to leave your pushing partner out to drive? But it looks like the 22, and I can't see the car behind the 22, 65. The Army color car, the 65. They're sort of still making that high line work and still going. So big ups to those 2 guys for sticking it out there and just keep going forward, because it's going to get dicey coming up. We're within 12 laps, it looks like. It's, some tempers might be flaring. I know if I was the 22, I'd be a little upset that I was left up there high and dry. But at the end of the day, I mean, he's got someone right behind him willing to push and make that high line work for him.
I'll tell you what, if I was the 22, I would be glad, because that opened the door for him to be pushed by Travis McDaniel to the race lead. Last time by, that number 22 machine was ahead at the stripe. So I'm kind of wondering here, Charles, if that inside line is starting to go away just a little bit because these tires are starting to wear. And I know a lot of people think, well, you're at a super speedway and tires don't wear, but they indeed do. And you might be just starting to scrub off a little bit too much speed on the inside line. But as I say that, the outside line became detached. And the number 65 of Travis McDaniel and the 22 of Michael Whiting kind of having to reset here. And that has really given that inside groove an advantage on this lap. It's going to be interesting to see if Dave Wilson is going to decide to jump up in front of the number 22 machine or whether he's going to stay down there on the low line. I don't think really,
they look like they want to share both lanes. Oh, okay, I like this.
Yeah, trying to do what Dale Earnhardt Jr. used to do, just kind of weave back and forth. Here comes Dave Wilson to the high side. He said, yeah, I'm going to try it. We'll see what we can do on that high line. We saw that high groove almost make it work a lap ago, but Dave Wilson here to the outside of the number 84 machine of Woody Mahan. Once again, these two side by side, but it's flipped from how it was just a few laps ago. Dave Wilson to the outside in the 61, the 84 of Mahan to the inside, and now Pete Baskins in the 27 machine will become the pusher behind the 84 machine, and as we have highlighted, the number 22 machine driven by Michael Whiting right there behind Dave Wilson. But behind then, it is 2 by 2 by 2, pretty much all the way back, because we're starting to see some of the drivers towards the back of the field who've kind of been hanging out for most of this race. I think they're starting to realize, hey, this could go caution-free, and if it does go caution-free, I need to be in a good enough position to try and make a move. So they're starting to close back in on this. It's about a 15-car breakaway, just a little bit over the 81 and the 85 of Shane Parrish and Eric Stanford, respectively. But there they are, those two working together. Oh, we got some takers on pit road. So this might be what we were talking about a little bit earlier, Charles, that these drivers might not be able to make it all the way on fuel, and now they need to start thinking about pitting. This could open the floodgates, and it could potentially decide who gets into the feature.
Yeah, this is a pretty interesting strat. Just 3 cars pitting from what I could see. And these 3 drivers better stick together, because essentially if you lose one of them, this strategy is pretty much out the window. With only 2 cars or even being solo out there, you can't survive. So this is going to be interesting, seeing when everyone else is going to start pitting. According to the ticker, it says we're 8 to go. So, I mean, you got to think that they should be stopping soon. And hopefully some of these drivers will not take tires, because I know that's going to be a costly mistake sometimes when you, at Daytona, even though the tires are being, you don't really need to take tires, especially when there's only less than 10 laps to go and you just need a splash of fuel. So this is definitely going to be interesting when everyone else is going to stop for gas, or maybe there's some calculations where a lot of these pushers, they're able to get off the throttle and not push as much, where they can afford to just stay out there the entire time. This is going to be definitely interesting when it comes down to it.
Yeah, and I was just about to say that those drivers who just pitted, they are not together on the racetrack, so they are losing tons and tons of time to this big pack. But Dave Wilson in the number 61 machine, he's broken himself clear, as the 84 machine is on pit road right now as we speak. The 27 along with him. So that's Woody Mahan, Pete Baskins, and Tony Schoen, Michael Krobach, Brian Yazik, all on pit road as we speak, along with Jay Crable in the War Turtle Racing machine. That's the Victory Lane Quick Oil Change 87 Camaro. He has found his pit box. Now it is important that you get into your pit box nice and neatly. Don't overshoot. Looks like everyone nice and neatly in their pit stall. But this is going to be very, very interesting to see how these guys get off pit road. But here is your race leader currently, Dave Wilson in that machine, but he's coming up on some lap traffic. He's actually catching up to the 95 machine of Danny Rogers. Will he catch him before he gets on pit road? We'll see if Wilson pits this time. Wilson is coming down pit road. Danny Rogers is coming down pit road. A whole bunch of cars now coming down, trying to get down to pit road speed limit, and Wilson does so right at the stripe. We did have a couple drivers who stay out. John Broussard, Shane Parrish, Eric Stanford, some of those drivers who we have kind of said here tonight have stayed behind the lead pack. They're still out there on the racetrack. There's only 3 of them. Bradley also stayed out in the number 14 machine, but he's well off the pace. I think he might have had to check up for one of the other cars, and he has lost the main draft. So we'll have to see just how all these cars come out of pit road. But surprisingly, ladies and gentlemen, the 2-car group of Nick Cohan. Brandon Key came off pit road extremely well. Remember, they were the first 2 cars to pit. We kind of dissed them for being so far apart from one another. They actually passed Woody Mahan, Michael Krobach, Jay Crable. So those 2 cars, even though they're kind of locked together on the racetrack, they are being caught by a group of cars, and now they have to catch the cars coming off pit road. Clarence Bonner, Travis McDaniel won the race off pit road out of this group, and heartbreak for Dave Wilson. He might have accidentally taken tires because he's way back, and now we're 3 wide for the race lead. How about this with now just 3 laps to go at the line?
Man, I was holding my breath right there when they were passing that lap traffic. But man, what a good pit strategy for those 2 cars right lead. I can't see what numbers they are. 50, no, the 15?
Yes, that is the number.
The 15 and 21, yes. They're the first ones to pit. Those 2 were managed. They were able to stay together, and now they're racing for the lead. So they're up front. They're in front of everyone. And at this track, are these 2 cars, the Surf Pro cars, are they in the lead? Parrish and Stanford staying out there. Looks like they just got a couple gallons and they were able to go. So this is going to be very interesting with 4 laps to go according to the ticker. It's going to come down to the wire. Who's going to make the qualifications of the next race?
Yeah, those 2 Surf Pro cars, they were lightning quick on pit road because they had to take the least amount of fuel. But here you can see those 2 cars were only locked up together, and they have been caught by the hard-charging pack. And now Brandon Key and Nick Cohan, the 15 and the 21, side by side for the race lead. But this has allowed those Surf Pro cars to get up to speed. And now it's a 2-car battle side by side with 2.5 laps to go. And how about this, folks? These cars were languishing. All 4 of your race leaders were languishing at the back of the pack. But some amazing pit stops have propelled them to 1, 2, 3, 4. Here comes Nick Cohan in the 27 machine. As you can see, this lead pack has greatly dwindled as we now only have getting a word that we're running out of time in this race.
Less than 20 seconds left to go in this race. They're coming down to the wire. So how's this going to work? At 30 minutes, race going to end?
No, so we're going to get, I believe, one more. Yeah, we will get the white flag next time by.
Okay, so we get one more lap when the timer runs out.
Yeah,
so it looks like we are at 2 to go. They're going to be taking the white flag.
Michael Krobach in the grass in the number 72 machine. Not quite sure what happened there. But, white flag is out. Wow, how about that, folks? We weren't exactly sure, but white flag now in the air. And this time thing completely throwing us for a loop. But Eric Stanford in the number, we got a wreck! Car around the 80, the 21, the 55, both in the wall facing backwards. Nick Cohan and Brian Yazik both spun out, but the first of the 2 winners here in the, we got a car upside down across the start-finish line. It's the 87 machine. But, wow, that kind of threw us all for a loop.
And that happened right before the start-finish line when he started taking up. Oh, man.
But Eric Stanford in the number 85 machine, you'll see this replay. Look at Nick Cohan and the 27 machine going around. And, wow, the 87 machine also heavily involved. That's Jay Crable in the 87. There's the 21 and the 55 going across the line. I saw them come across the start-finish line. But, man, oh, man, that kind of really made things interesting there on the last lap. iRacing was still showing it was 2 laps to go. Didn't show the white flag in the air till right there at the end. So let's go through your results. I kind of have to read them out to you here. But Eric Stanford in the 85 took home the win in the first race. Shane Parrish second. Brandon Key third. Clarence Bonner fourth. Nick Cohan fifth. Michael Krobach, Brian Yazik, Woody Mahan, Tony Schoen, Pete Baskins rounding out your top 10. 11th, Jay Crable. 12th, Travis McDaniel. Jake Douglas 13th. 14th, Lee Staples, Jackson Van Volkenberg, Dave Wilson, who slid through his pit box. Unfortunately for that, number 61 machine comes home 16th. Mike Rigney, Bradley, John Broussard, Michael Whiting, Danny Rogers, and Andy Veltman end up your finishing order for the first of the 2 Kirkwood Transportation Duels. And now we've already got things lined up for the second of the 2 Kirkwood Transportation Duels. And let's go through that starting order because We got a whole bunch new drivers. 21 drivers will be starting this race. Greg Evans in the 83 will be starting on the pole. Craig Stykes will be starting second in the 57 machine. Jason Eisenhower in the 37 will be rolling off third. Brandon Stokes in the number 9 machine in ninth. Chris Stouffer in the 46 will roll off from fifth. Ty Hester and Jeremy Banning 6th and 7th. Sam Crow in the 02 machine will be rolling off 8th. James Lorello and Dave Washington will be rolling off from row number 5. John Jenkins and Christopher Bouchard, will be rolling off from row number 6. Nick Curling and Ethan Adams, row number 7. Cody Spiker and Jonathan Holstein, row number 8. Mark Myers, John Van Varellis rolling off row 9. Row number 10, John Gallagher and Adam Jersky. And rolling off shotgun on this 21 car field will be the number 4 machine of J.R. Bash. But you can see pace car lights are off on that Ford Mustang pace car. Pace car now diving onto pit lane, because just like that, the green flag is in the air for the second of the 2 Kirkwood Transportation Duels. Based off of the last one, we won't make it all 40 laps here, so it'll be about a 38-lap race, I do believe, assuming we stay caution-free like we did in race number 1. Got to give props to the American Sim Racing Series drivers for getting that race in and all caution-free. But up at the front, as for right now, it looks like it is the number 57 machine, Craig Stykes, getting the jump in that slice pizza bar Chevrolet Camaro for Will Worsler Racing. Good start for him, jumping to the race lead from the outside groove.
Yeah, this is definitely an exciting race right here, because these drivers have just witnessed what they're about to experience. So I wouldn't be surprised if like 5 or a handful of drivers sort of learn from what happened and maybe pit a little bit earlier than normal, because we already know that you have to pit. So I wouldn't be surprised if like there's a group of guys out there that are just like, hey, let's just pit on lap X and get some more fuel and then just ride it out for the rest of the way, because then they'll just sit there and just take all that momentum and speed and just pass by everyone. And hopefully it may not turn out to be another wreck at the very end, but man, exciting race for the first one. This second one, they're riding side by side, even though it looks like a lot more people are more content with the bottom lane in this heat than the first one. So we'll definitely see what's going on in the second of the Kirkwood Transportation Duels going on right now. Peter, what do you see going on right now?
Well, as of right now, it's kind of a different feel from the first of the 2 races, because we see a lot of single file up there at the front. In fact, it's really the first, I'd say, 7 cars or so that are all single file down there on the bottom groove. You find Jason Eisenhower in the number 37 machine. He's the first car on the outside groove, trying to get help from David Washington, one of the other Serve Pro Ford out there. And the Ford Mustang of Dave Washington not quite able to help out that number 37 of Eisenhower just yet. But as of right now, fantastic racing to get through the first duel, completely green flag, and we jumped over into the second duel just like that. And there you see Eisenhower in number 37. Looks like the 36 machine, that would of course be driven by Ty Hester. And of course we saw Ty Hester with a couple good runs last year in that number 36 machine. As we have side by side for the race lead, the Greg Evans machine in the 83 got himself back to the race lead briefly, but now Craig Stykes in the number 57 machine trying to do battle on that outside groove to get that race lead back. So kind of a little bit of flip-flopping up at the front. The 57 getting help from Jeremy Banning in the number 30 machine, and now all of a sudden it's starting to look a little bit more like race number 1, side by side, 2 by 2 for about the first, well, as I say that, pretty much the whole field now all of a sudden filed up 2 by 2. So definitely looking like race number 1 once again. So that's good news. There was some fantastic racing in race number 1. Got to give a shout out to, I know I've said it before, but just the patience level out of some of the drivers. I know they saw what happened to Andy Veltman in race number 1 as he broke a little bit loose in turn number 1. And I think they really calmed down a little bit after they saw that. They realized, to finish first you must finish. And they got to the end of that one without a single caution flag, green flag, pit stops. What a sight to see here at Daytona. But nonetheless, we have 34 laps to go in the second of the two Kirkwood Transportation Duels. I tried to look through the pit lane to try and see if we could get your winner of the first heat, the number 85, Eric Stanford, but it does not look like he is available to talk to. Let's see, maybe we can dial up one of the other drivers here from race number 1. In fact, let's see if we can dial up Andy Veltman from Andy Veltman Racing. He was, of course, up there near the top when that number 97 machine broke loose. It'd be interesting to talk to him here. Let's see if we can dial him up real fast. Andy Veltman, Peter Short here in the 3-wide TV booth. You got a copy? Let's try that one more time. Andy Veltman, Peter Short here in the 3-wide TV booth. You got a copy?
10-4, I got you.
Hey, man, I'll tell you what. You definitely looked really, really good out there for about the first 15 laps or so, but it looked like just one of those deals, maybe a little bit of aero loose, caught you out in turn number 1. Spectacular save for that number 97 machine, but, take us through what happened and whether or not you were all too concerned at the end of the night.
Well, I was just basically trying to follow the 84 around there, but these cars jump around a lot, so just trying to stay in his line. I turned a little bit too much into the corner, got loose. I was able to save it a little bit. I did pick up some damage off the wall and bounce off a couple other guys, which I apologize for. But I wasn't too worried about it. We're in on time. I was just trying to kind of hang out there till the end. Didn't really want to push it, but sometimes these things happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Do want to say, that was a great save. There aren't that many people who can keep a car off of another car when it's that sideways here at Daytona when speeds are upwards of 195 miles an hour. But was that something you were kind of expecting here? Was that something you'd experienced in practice, or was that something that kind of jumped out of the blue at you?
Actually, I had it happen a couple of times in practice, so I was familiar with it to some extent. Just trying to get a feel for these.
Sorry to break in, but we have an accident right up at the front, and it's your pole sitter, the number 83 machine of Greg Evans, who's hard in the inside wall with the number 30 of that's Banning in the number 30 machine, and those two cars were battling up near the front here, and you can see a little bit of contact there right in the tri-oval with Ty Hester in the number 36 machine, and both the 30 and the 83 go spinning. Now, luckily for them, I believe they're both in on time. We'll see this from high above the tri-oval. But, a little bit of contact there with the 36 and the 83, and the 83 got turned up into the 30 of Banning. And luckily for Banning, I don't think he has too well. He backed it into the wall quite a bit. The green flag's still out here as both of those race cars were off of the racing surface.
Yeah, that's part of their race right there. But, very fortunate that no one else got those two, because they were running up front, and they could have easily taken out at least half the field if they didn't spin out very slower or anything like that. So Andy, real quick, were you aware that you couldn't make it all the way on gas?
Yeah, I kind of was going to feel out the field and see when they were stopping. I was going to at least go halfway. When I ended up by myself, I dropped in halfway through, but it didn't look like there was going to be any caution, so I just pulled off the track. Didn't want to get in anyone's way.
Yeah, I was wondering about that earlier. Can these cars actually go 40 laps or 30 minutes? Let alone at Daytona. Man, that was a great race. A lot of clean driving for the most part. Unfortunately, the end scenario, that's just essentially racing incidents. It seems like everyone's trying to get a top 8 spot. Congratulations, Andy, for being one of the moving on to the finals. Do you have any shout-outs or anything before we go?
I just want to thank Indian Ladder Farms Cidery and Brewery for jumping on the side of the car, and everyone that supports.
That's great to hear, Andy. Well, we appreciate your time here, and we'll talk to you later.
All right, appreciate it. See you guys next week.
All right, buddy.
Well, I'll tell you what, there has been some absolute crazy racing going on up at the front between these 4 drivers, and we got currently Chris Stouffer in the number 46 machine leading around this joint. That's kind of completely different to where we left off just a few minutes ago before that interview. But that number 46 machine's got himself up front. Brandon Stokes in the number 9 machine to the outside. That's a new look on that number 9 machine of Brandon Stokes for this year's Hacksaw PC's Premier Series. Good looking number 9 machine. And right behind him is Ty Hester in the number 36. The 57 of Craig Stike still riding inside the top 5 in that Bill Wurzler racing machine. But here comes James Lorello in the number 3. He's all the way up into the 5th position. And Jason Eisenhower still running that high groove in that number 37 Camaro. Good looking number 37 machine. Blue, and you can't miss those green numbers on the top of that 37 machine. Oh, wow. The number 9 machine of Brandon Stokes cut down right in front of James Lorello, and I thought there might have been contact there. It was very, very tight, but that caused the inside groove to check up just a little bit, and here comes Ty Hester on that outside groove once again. Here comes Sam Crow in the number 2 machine. He's starting to make a charge on the inside groove. He'll be the 5th car in line down there as we look out back of the number 9 machine of Brandon Stokes. And here comes Craig Stikes in number 57, jumping to the high side through the tri-oval, side by side once again for the race lead here with 25 laps to go, I do believe.
Yeah, this is going to come down to the wire for sure, because we have a set of pit stops that we have to make, get some gas in these cars and get back out there. This is definitely going to be interesting as we get closer to the finish. I would probably say around lap 10 is when people are going to start making the stops. We saw it around 8 to go. So probably 10 to go, maybe 8 to go is when we're going to start seeing people coming in, taking gas and everything. Really tight racing up front. Looks like they got all the jitters out, or the nerves out of their system, and they're going high and low in this race. So it's definitely nice to see side-by-side racing throughout the entire race. I'm not going to lie, it would have been kind of boring if it was all single file, but here at Daytona, these drivers are doing it. Top 10, 11, looks like top 16 drivers are just side-by-side, high and low. Great job, great racing. Everyone's keeping it clean. The pushers aren't pushing the pushers, so it's definitely a good clinic on how to drive at at Daytona.
Caution, big wreck behind, and Nick Curling in the number 10 machine's involved, Cody Spiker's involved, Jonathan Holstein's involved, but caution flag in the air for the first time here tonight in the Kirkwood Transportation Duels. Let's go back and see. Oh man, that's Jonathan Holstein in the 73 machine up in the wall, and we'll have to go back maybe a little bit further, get a little bit better angle and see what put that 73 machine up in the wall. Here he goes into the core. Oh, same thing that happened to the number 97 of Andy Veltman in the first race, clipped the number 19 machine. The number 19, of course, is driven by Cody Spiker, and Spiker some heavy damage, and I'm trying to see if that number 88 machine got a piece of it. I believe he did. That's Ethan Adams. And indeed, Ethan Adams is on pit lane trying to get some front end damage. Yeah, he got a good chunk of it. Let's go on board. I think this is the number 10 of Nick Curling going off into the corner. You see that 73 just comes out of nowhere. No, my goodness, gives the gyro cam a workout here. But we're on a caution for the first time here tonight in the Kirkwood Transportation Duels here on 3Wide TV. We're going to step away for just a brief break. I'm sure all these drivers will come down pit road, so we'll update you on how the field shakes out in just a brief moment.
Life happens everywhere, like it never even happened, only happens here. The cleanup and restoration specialists at 1-800-SERVPRO and ServPro.com.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Daytona International Speedway, and pit stops are underway for about half the field. Now, this is a very interesting call, and I'm wondering here whether, the number 4 JR Bash gets all up out of shape. Not quite sure what happened there. Maybe a little bit of contact on pit road, but JR Bash gets it woed up. As Craig Stike does win the race off pit road. You see a little bit of contact, a little bit of help there from the number 76 machine of John Gallagher, who quite rightfully was being pushed by a car from behind. So that was kind of an accordion issue. Now, like I was saying, there's a big strategy call that's been made here because Christopher in the number 46 machine has stayed out with the number 9 machine of Brandon Stokes. And the only thing I can think about, Charles, is whether or not they're thinking maybe we'll get another yellow and maybe they'll be able to make it on fuel up at the front.
I don't know. Like I think there's a decent strat to this. Kind of, you're not if you haven't tried this strategy out before. But the big thing they're probably going on is when the car's in gear, it's going to be in 4th gear. When they're up to pace speed, they're shifting it back to neutral, and they're keeping the RPMs low to conserve as much fuel as possible. That's got to be the only reason why they're doing this. Either that, or they're probably going to pit on the very last lap. But it seems like it's going to save same amount of fuel. I mean, like, why not pit with everyone else? So, yeah, this is going to be interesting. Maybe they've done some testing where, one caution, they're able to take some time. They're able to stay out there on one tank of gas because remember, we're not, especially now with the caution, we're not doing the full 40 laps. Like even with no cautions, you can't do the entire 40 laps on one tank. With this caution now soaking up a lot of time and a lot of laps, and you're definitely going to be closer to that pit window because it seemed like in the first heat race, they were pitting around like 8 to go was like the first couple ones, and then like a big one the next 2 laps after that. So you can go pretty far on just one tank of gas, but you definitely can't complete the full 30 minutes of all green flag racing. So that's probably the strategy here.
Yeah, it's kind of a twofer. Like you said, you're going to save gas because you're under caution, but the race is also going to be shortened because we're under caution. So, yeah, it is an absolute twofer. But, yeah, let's see if we can possibly dial up one of the drivers who's actually locked into next week's race. Let's see exactly where he is. Let's see. I'm trying to find the 51 machine of Mitch Brown. Oh, there we go. I found him. Let's see if we can drag him up here into the 3-wide TV booth. Here we go. Mitch Brown, Peter Short here in the 3-wide TV booth. Man, oh man, 2019 went your way. But I'll tell you what, it's a new year here in the 2020 Hacksaw PC Premier Series. And I'll tell you what, buddy. What are you going to do this year?
Hell if I know. I really don't know. We just got to take it race by race and week by week. That's all we can do, basically.
Well, last year you got the trifecta. You won the Truck Series, the Cup Series, and ultimately the Premier Series. But how important would it be to get one of these Glass Door Brewing 250 championship, or I should say championship. It's like a championship. It's the biggest race of the year here at Daytona.
It'd be nice, but no, we're just beginning of the year. We're thinking big picture. We just gotta get as many points as we can. If we can't win, just try to finish as high as up we can. We're just looking at the end goal of the championship.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, you came home with a decent number of victories last year. But looking at the schedule this year, are there any races that you kind of have circled on the calendar that you're already eyeing up?
Not really. Just this package and this this aero package, and just how the car drives now. Just 1.5-mile tracks are going to be our main key because it's just there's so much aero push, especially at tracks like Kansas, Kentucky, all those kind of tracks. But not really. I don't really have a couple tracks. Maybe New Hampshire because that's my home track, so I kind of want to win there. Dover, another one. Watkins Glen, Pocono. Probably those are the ones I had circled on as ones that that are more important to win. But no, we're just like I said earlier, just race by race, week by week. It's all we can do. We can't don't want to think ahead, but just big picture.
All right. Well, Mitch, good luck on the 2020 Hacksaw PC's Premier Series title defense, and I'm sure we'll be talking to you next week at Daytona.
All right. Thanks, guys.
All right. Well, that is the number 51 machine of Mitch Brown. Of course, he's already locked in as last year's champion, but the green flag is back in the air here at Daytona, and it is currently Chris Stouffer, who is leading the way in that number 46 machine. And you can see we have 20 laps to go on the ticker, but if you look at the current time, we have 11 minutes left as of right now. So really, I don't see any way for them to get even close to that 20 laps to go. In fact, Joel Real Timing, which is the timing app that I'm using, is currently only estimating 14.4 laps to go. So definitely this race will not go its full distance. And Charles, we mentioned it under caution. These front few drivers who decided to stay out. Oh, the number 9 machine having a little bit of connection issues, and he will get a warning for that. And if it happens again, the number 9 machine will have to drop to the back. That's the number 9 of Brandon Stokes up there. So, all right, let's put some bets on this. Charles, do you think those cars that stayed out, do you think they'll be able to make it to the end on fuel if we have no cautions?
So you're saying it's 13 laps ago? Like 13 and change?
Yes. So
Ooh.
13 and change. 13 and a half as of right now, according to my timing app.
11 minutes. That's going to cut it That's going to cut it a little too close unless people were pitting kind of early in the first heat, because that leaves what, 8 laps left? No, that leaves 6 laps left. Yeah, they might have been pitting early. So I mean, this is going to come down to.
But you also have to remember that they were saving fuel under that caution. So I think they're going to make it. I think they're going to make it pretty easily. It's just going to be a matter of whether or not.
They will not make it. I will say that. If they stay in second, they will not make it because their pedal is to the floor. They need to get back in the second or third in line, and that's going to be a hard situation for them to do. But if they can get behind someone, they can feather it a little bit, and they can let off going in and out of these turns and everything like that, where you're using the suction of the draft to bring you along. You don't have to keep the gas pedal all the way down. But out front, you have to keep that gas pedal down or they're just going to tear you up. So if they stay out front like this, Peter, I don't think they're going to last till the very end.
Well, we'll have to see whether or not. I know the rule is under caution. Usually you get a free lap for every caution lap. So if you have 3 caution laps, you usually get about half a lap per lap. So that probably added an extra little 1.5 to 2 laps when we went under caution, just pacing.
Alright, well, sorry about that, everybody. It appears that there might be something going on with the race Discord. So I'll be taking over until we can get this thing figured out. Currently, at the moment, so I'm trying to get my telemetry software all set up, is Brandon Stokes at the lead with Chris Stouffer all the way behind. As Charles and Peter are talking about, I do think they will be able to make it. I just think with all the time that they're saving and everything that's going on, the shortness of the race, I think they'll be good to go. As that being said, I believe that might be the number 37. Pardon me. I have an appointment with the eye doctor tomorrow, so much needed because I can't see anything too well. Kerikatonis, you are going to be the death of me. Side by side for the race lead with 16 laps to go on the race ticket, but realistically it is 10 laps to go at the current moment, and I'm hoping everybody can still hear me and that I'm not having a connection issue. Let me try this one more time. Peter, Charles, are you guys there? Well, it appears we might be having some other sort of connection issues going on as the caution is out there wrecking there, flipping. That is a 9. Oh no, that's a bad time for me to try to fix my connection settings. Let's go ahead and take a look back on the replay and see what went wrong there. And then we're going to take a quick break. Oh, too far back. Going back again. Let's take a look at what happened. The 9 went a little wide. Went to block. The car was already there. And unfortunate for the 9 of Brandon Stokes. Went up and over, flipping through the air, landing, and that is one destroyed race car. Let's go through the gyro cam, see what's going on. Went up, clipped the car, 37, went flying in the air. Actually, didn't flip until he hit the ground. So, whew. Thank you, Andy, for telling me you can hear me. That's a big. Let's take a look at one more time from the point of view. The 37 came up just a little bit too much. As I'm pretty sure the 9 of Brandon Stokes went through every single race car that's there. Let's take a look on board. The 71 of Adam Jersky. Pardon me if I destroyed your last name. Let's take a look. Moving up there. Gonna go flying up and over. Oh, he actually made contact with the 71, but thankfully it looks like he got some netcode. As we're gonna go ahead and take a quick commercial break from our fantastic sponsors, and we'll be right back, hopefully with a functioning crew.
Every day in business starts with a number. Output, productivity, efficiency, all measured in numbers, because data drives decisions. And if fire or water damage strikes, the numbers for your business can slow or even stop. Unless you know this one. 1-800-SERVPRO, the #1 choice in commercial cleanup and restoration. Life happens everywhere. Like it never even happened, only happens here. The cleanup and restoration specialists at 1-800-SERVPRO and servpro.com.
And we're back.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I think that accident was such a hard accident that it actually took down our Discord server as we had some connection issues here. Seems like tonight has just been plagued with connection issues and sorts of things. So hopefully we can get that sorted out for you next week. But nonetheless, here on 3Wide TV, the question is whether or not this race is official. I think it is. I think this man right here, Jason Eisenhower, has got away with a victory because we only have about a minute left in this race and pace car lights are still on. So I'm getting word that there's actually 3 minutes and 36 seconds. That's the difference between when the race went green and the current elapsed time in this session. So there's 3 minutes and 23 seconds left. I don't think we're going back green. I think this number 37 machine, Jason Eisenhower, has got himself a victory. It was very interesting to see that accident from high above in a helicopter camera. It looks like the number 9 just pushed out of the corner, and that contact there is put the number 37 machine out front. Charles, what do you think?
I think it has to do with being on older tires. He stayed out. He didn't pit like everyone else. I'm not sure if everyone else took tires or not, or anyone did, but I think that was a product of just being on older tires and just carrying that much speed coming out turn 2, and the car just naturally drifted up. And I don't know if he thought he was clear. I'm not sure if it was just natural momentum that took the car up there, but I think it may have something to do with being on older tires and not pitting.
Yeah, I kind of think that Brandon might have been trying to make a move to block the outside line. I just don't know. You might be right. It might have just drifted up on him. But that's not the way Brandon Stokes wanted to finish this race, especially with him
definitely
leading.
Not. Especially with that strategy. You definitely don't want to do that. It was kind of weird because he was riding the high line, and then he dropped down low in front of the 46 or 44, and then it just doesn't make sense that he would just immediately go up in the high line naturally, where it was more like the car and the momentum just took him up the track. But I mean, who knows? We weren't in the car. We weren't discussing it. He might have thought he was clear or something like that.
Now the good news for Brandon Stokes is he was the 8th fastest qualifier, and if you think back to the way you get into tonight's race, the 8 fastest drivers in qualifying were automatically locked into next week's show. So even though Stokes isn't going to come away with a Kirkwood Transportation race, the I think he's going to be locked into next week's show, so that's going to be good for Brandon Stokes in that number 9 machine.
Now,
out
Peter,
there on the
real
racetrack.
quick, I'm looking over the qualifications for the Glass Door Brewing 250 next week. It says top 8 fastest qualifying times, not already in the race. So was he 8th place in overall time, or was he 8th place in just this heat?
He was 8th place overall. So
okay, so he started like 4th or 3rd in this race.
Yes, he started 4th in this heat. So,
Gotcha.
or I should
Perfect.
say, in this duel. So he should be good to go for next week's race because he'll be in the top 8, not locked into the show based off of finishes, promoters option, or past champions provisionals. So I think he will be there next week. So he has that as a little bit of solace. But nonetheless, pace car lights are off here. We got only 18 seconds left in this race. So I believe the checkered flag does get thrown at 0. At least it did in race number 1. Now, whether or not there's any type of green-white checker in this scenario, I'm not 100% sure. But
I think it's going to end.
we are getting the checkered flag this time by. So I think that potentially we might have some type of restart here, maybe 200 yards of green flag racing. I don't know, because the Mustang lights are still off. It's diving down. We have 200 yards of green flag racing.
Ooh, let's go,
determine
boys.
who's gonna go. And the number 37 of Jason Eisenhower on the loud pedal. Checkered flag is out. Jason Eisenhower will win the second of the 2 Kirkwood duels. How about that? That's a little bit of a drag race to the start finish line, but all the field racing off into turn number 1.
This is the final lap. Looks
never
like it's
mind.
the final lap right now.
Looks like this is the last lap. Who knows? This time thing is completely screwing with everything, but nonetheless, it looks like this will determine first car back wins. And Jason Eisenhower and the 46 of Christopher side by side going off into turn number 3. You see those cars jostling around. They're trying to be tucked up right up behind one another. There's contact between the 36 and the 46 and 37. They're still side by side right to the line. 37 edges out front. Eisenhower wins the second of the 2 Kirkwood duels. Just like that. My oh my.
What a finish.
We got some accident right behind. Looks like the 71 of Adam Jersky went around there, but that is going to do it. Just like that, the 2 Kirkwood duels come to a crazy close. Both of those races just crazy finishes, and those race results, don't even look at those. Unfortunately, they have reset because we have passed the second of the 2 duels. But we're going to step away for just a quick break. We'll come back with the race results, and hopefully we can bring up a couple of drivers up here to talk to in the 3-wide TV booth.
Yeah, it's a big mess. But don't worry, cleanup's already underway.
When the things that matter most are on the line, make sure we are too. The disaster recovery team at 1-800-SERVE-PRO. Like it never even happened.
The most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is iRacing. Detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic real world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $100,000 in annual prizes. This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
Life happens everywhere. Like it never even happened, only happens here. The cleanup and restoration specialists at 1-800-SERVE-PRO and ServePro.com.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, luckily able to catch our breath just a little bit after two crazy finishes to the Kirkwood Transportation Duels here tonight. Two not quite 100 lap races, but two 30-minute races because we reached the time limit in both of the two duels. So very, very interesting. Definitely a different element to these races. Kept the commentators on our toes, kept the drivers on their toes as well, but it was Jason Eisenhower coming home with a victory in the second of the duels. But let's see if we can possibly dial up some of the drivers who are just now getting out of their race cars. Let's see if we can talk to the third place finisher in the second of the duels. That would, of course, be the number 3 machine of James Lorello. But as I say that, Mr. Lorello has just left the server. So let's call an audible on that one. Let's see if we can talk to... let's see if we can talk to the number 36 machine of Ty Hester. See if we can drag him up here into the 3-wide TV booth. Ty Hester, Peter Short here in the booth. You got a copy?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Well, man, looks like a little bit of a scuffle there in that race. You ultimately came home with about an 8th place finish. Not quite the finish you were hoping for, but good enough, finishing in the top 8 in that one. Tell us a little bit about it from your perspective.
It was good and exciting. Just wanted to make sure I made it in racing my way in, and yeah, I was unfortunate. I gave a very, very, very small bump. I can't even remember who. But ended. I do know it ended a couple guys' nights, but just we're all racing for the same thing.
Yeah, you were able to sneak into the top 8 there. And how was that number 36 machine driving out there here tonight?
That was great. It was great. Just waiting on, hopefully there would have been no accidents. Just trying to set up passes and, hopefully win the duel. But, we got in, and that's all that counts.
Of course, next week's race is 250 miles, 100 laps here around the famed Daytona International Speedway. What's your strategy going into the Glass Door Brewing 250?
Stay out of the accidents and no mistakes on pit road, and we should be fine.
All right. Well, before we let you go, you got any shout-outs for us?
I'd like to thank Todd Kirkwood of Kirkwood Transportation for the sponsorship, and Jim and Sam for adminning the league and for putting it on.
All right. Well, best of luck next week once again here at Daytona for the Glass Door 250. All right. Well, let's see if we can dial up someone else out there just getting out of their race car. In fact, let's see if we can talk to the driver of the number 87 machine, Jay Crable. He was in that accident right there at the beginning of, at the end of the first race, and I'm trying to get him dragged up here into the racing channel. Here we go. Jay Crable, Peter Short here in the 3-wide TV booth. You got a copy?
Hey guys, how's it going?
Pretty good. You had a pretty good showing in that first race. I know that last lap there didn't quite go to your liking, but tell us a little bit about your night and a little bit about what you're bringing here to the American Sim Racing Series in this Hacksaw PC's Premier Series in 2020.
Yeah, I was the only driver for my team in that duel, and I kind of knew I could fall back on that promoters option if I had to. So I just kind of went for it, and I kind of had that mess up on the very start. I lost a bunch of time, so I just kind of fell in behind the 72 and just rode. And I tried to make something happen on the last lap, but whatever happened, and that was it. So and then the second duel, my team didn't have a very good race.
Yeah, definitely. You want to get your entire team into the Glass Door Brewing 250 next week, but I know that you and your team, I believe it's a 4-car team. You have a lot to offer this year in the Hacksaw PC's Premier Series, and there's going to be a lot of races. But are there any races that you have currently circled on the calendar that you're looking forward to?
Yeah, absolutely. As a team, we're pretty good road course racers too. So I know me and Nick and a couple other guys, we all have all the road courses on our calendar. Those are ones that we're going to show up, and there's just one answer, and that's going to be win. So.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see exactly what War Turtle Racing can do in 2020 for the Hacksaw PC's Premier Series. But before we let you go, you got any shout-outs for us?
Yeah, of course. My team, of course, and I got Victory Lane Quick Oil Change will be sponsoring Las Vegas after Daytona, as well as my Glass Door Brewing is sponsoring Daytona. So check them out. We got a new website, www.warturtle.racing. Please check that out too.
Very, very cool. Well, best of luck next week in the Glass Door Brewing 250 there, Jay.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Well, let's see if there's any other drivers that we can go down and get. Let's see if we can talk to the man who was leading the race in the number 9 machine when he made a little bit of contact with the number 37 machine and ended up in the outside catch fence. That would be the number 9 machine of Brandon Stokes. Let's see. Here we go. This is Peter Short in the 3-wide TV booth. Brandon, you got a copy?
Yes, sir, I do.
All right. Well, you kind of knew, since you were the 8th fastest qualifier, that you would make it into next week's Glass Door Brewing 250 here in tonight's Kirkwood Transportation Duels. But that's not the way you wanted to ending up on your lid there with just a few laps to go. Talk us through that accident.
So I think we were coming out of 2. I knew I got a big push from the 46 there on the entry of 1, and I knew it was going to let me ride. And I saw that I was pulling, I think it was the 37 on the outside, that close. But I mean, looking at the replay, I mean, it could go either way, I guess. He wasn't checking up. I don't blame him. Just a racing deal. I did want to win that race for my sponsors, FXR and Southern Leisure.
There. All right. Well, that was a great race, man. It's unfortunate, but at least you qualified for the main event. So before we let you go, do you have anyone you want to give a shout out to?
Yeah, for sure. I want to shout out FXR for coming on board for this year. Great apparel company, great company overall. Pretty sure the owner was watching tonight. Hate I couldn't get a W for him in the heat. And my team, Momentum Sim Racing, Jordan and all the guys, I think all of us but one made it in. And we had a pretty good night, and we're looking forward to next Tuesday.
Great to hear it, Brandon. Well, good luck next week, and we'll look forward to calling that race for you, buddy. All right, take care.
Sir. Thank you. Y'all have a good night.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what, I think we have one more interview, and that is going to be formerly driver of the number 42 machine. Of course, we saw him for many, many years here in the American Sim Racing Series Premier Series. That would be Jim Foose, and let's see if we can dial him up. Jim Foose, Peter Short here in the 3-wide TV booth. 2 crazy finishes tonight in both of these Kirkwood Transportation Duels. And I'll tell you what, it kind of really sets the stage for next week in the Glass Door Brewing 250. But tell us a little bit about tonight's races from your perspective. It was definitely a pretty chaotic end to race number 1, and race number 2, quite a bit more action.
Yeah, first off, the guys have a rolling bet going on of how long I'll last without being in the car. And after watching that, I'm not ready to roll the car off the trailer just yet and go racing, because those were pretty crazy. It was a lot of action. There was a lot of great racing during that one. So really excited to see all that here tonight. And big thanks to Kirkwood Transportation, Todd Kirkwood, for coming up with a sponsorship for the duels and making everything happen here with the first time that we've done this to qualify for the 250-mile race next week. So really excited there. I'll tell you what, the race control tower has a beautiful view of this Daytona International Speedway, and I'll enjoy this next week. Plus, the drinks up here are free.
All right, so you're inviting me up there after the race, right, to get some of them free drinks?
By that time, we might only have like Kool-Aid or water or something like that left.
What
as
about
long
me,
as
Jim?
it's better. Well, Carlos Acosta trying to get in on the action, our producer. But I'll tell you what, Jim, as long as whatever you have up there is better than generic drinks, I'll be up there after this one. But nonetheless, long season. You got Hacksaw PCs on board for this Premier Series year. Great sponsor. We saw them at the end of last year, kind of jumping on board here with the American Sim Racing Series. But just how awesome is it to have them on board? And of course, tell us a little bit about the prizes that some of these drivers are expecting to see at the end of the year.
Yeah, so tonight is just a qualifying race for the first race of the season. And Hacksaw PCs has put up a race-ready, basically a turnkey racing computer for the champion this season, which has allowed us to move some other things around prize-wise and just kind of play around with everything that we do. So it's really cool. Nick and his team over at Hacksaw PCs have done a great job of activating their sponsorship with us and just putting everything together so that not only are the deals out there for our drivers and our members and of course our viewers here on 3Wide TV, but those deals are out there for anybody in the sim racing community to take advantage of. And he's got some hot deals. So check him out at hacksawpcs.com. He'll be more than happy to build you a custom PC that just, they're top notch. So you can't beat that. So really excited about that. We got a lot of things on the line. We have a few things that are still kind of in the works with prizes and things like that. We usually try to finalize the prize fund before June 1st, just to have everything kind of in line so everybody knows what they're racing for. Still working on a couple last minute details. It will be bigger than last year. It'll be considerably bigger than last year, and that's of course thanks to Nick at Hacksaw PCs, Sam Maxwell Customs, Shane over at Surf Pro, who has signed on with our Grand National Series on Wednesday night, as well as the Surf Pro Wheelman Challenge. I mean, these are some bigger, better prizes than we've had ever in the history of this league. So it's going to be a really exciting 2020. We're just excited to roll into Daytona. This was a lot of fun.
Absolutely. It's going to be a lot of fun to broadcast this year here on 3Wide TV. Charles, do you have any questions for the man himself, Mr. Jim Foose?
Not at the moment. I'm very intimidated to meet with the owner, commissioner, race control of ASRS. Definitely looking forward to calling more races in the Hacksaw PC Premier Series. Actually looking forward to maybe even qualifying for the Development League coming up. But yeah, great races. Your drivers are put on a great show for the qualifying races. And looking forward to calling next week's race, man.
Yeah, it should be really a really exciting Daytona race. I'll tell you what, duel number one was pretty tame, and during that second duel, I almost feel like maybe Menards announced the 11% off this week, and everybody was trying to rush to get through the race so they could get over there. But there's at least one mention this week, so I'm not even in the booth, and I got one in there. So there you go. But yeah, just really excited, and I'm excited to be back. I actually missed last week's Development Series race as I was down with the flu. So I'm happy to be back at Daytona with the truck tomorrow night, and we're going to have some fun here all season long with you guys. And I think I'll be joining you guys. I don't know if it's Vegas or a couple races after that, but should be pretty soon. We'll be up in the booth with you guys for a few of these races. So really excited about that.
Looking forward to that, Jim. So, real quick, before we let you go, do you have anyone else you want to shout out?
No, just really happy with everybody here tonight. All the drivers did a great job. All of our great sponsors and partners on the league have worked really hard all winter long to get everything done. Been a few bumps in the road, but we're ready to roll and ready to get on with the season. Want to say hi to my mom and dad. They're recovering from their accident a little more than a week ago. So they're probably Dad's probably watching. Mom probably is watching something on TV, like house flipping or or Deal or No Deal or whatever one of them house, love it or listed kind of things
Yeah.
is. She's probably
as a real estate agent, I'm not a fan of those shows now. But we're glad to hear that they're doing better and they're recovering from their accident from a couple weeks ago. Our thoughts and prayers are out to you and your family and friends and everyone.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hold on.
Same from me as well.
Sorry, Peter. One last thing, Jim. Can you hit us with the official Daytona 250 qualifiers?
I thought that you guys would never ask. So, racing in qualifying Kirkwood Transportation qualifying duel number 1, car number 85, 81, 15, 99, 21, 72, 55, and 84. And I only wrote down the numbers. Qualifying Kirkwood Transportation qualifying duel number 2 racing in is car number 37, 46, 3, 89, 02, 7, 50, and 36. Qualifying in with the qualifying times will be the 95 car, the 83. These guys were the drivers that fall back on their qualifying time. 57, 61, 97, 9, and then the 27, the 22, and the 53. The 53 gets in because the 21 raced his way in. That was the past champions provisional. And then the 87 will round out the field, Jay Crable, with the promoter's option as the event sponsor. Plus, we have our 14 regular drivers that everybody was anxious to see tonight. I'm sure Nikki's probably was anxious to see everybody, but Will wasn't quite in the race tonight. So those 14 will be back, and we'll have a full field of 40 cars coming your way for the Hacksaw PC's season opening Glass Door Brewing 250 at Daytona International Speedway.
And
and of course, I was just going to add on those 14 drivers being Jason Stewart, Jared Haggerty, Jimmy McKee, Tyler Seville, Steve Puhala, Richard Stallings, Alan Young, Troy Haight, Will Warsler, Kelsey Rogers, Tim Knott, Richard Fletcher, Mitch Brown, and Alex Giese. All those drivers are already locked in to the show. So it's going to be a fantastic show next week, and we're really looking forward to the Glass Door Brewing 250, Carlos.
Yeah, I was going to say, Jim, this is, unless I'm incorrect, the first time ASRS has gone to a 40-car field. Yes?
Yes, it is the first time that we've gone with 40 cars, so it's going to be very hectic next week with Sam and I. Also, big shout out to Sam. Yeah. He's recovering from a surgery today, planned surgery, so everything's good there. Told us to tell everybody hello, and he's doing well. He's posted pictures already, so he'll be back before too long.
I'm kind of mad at you because I was literally about to say that next and then go climb back in my hole. So I'm going to go climb back in my hole.
All right, Carlos, thanks for coming out. Jim Foose, appreciate you hosting all this and organizing this all, and looking forward to 2020 season. Calling you guys, what a great start to the season for sure. Peter, how do you feel about what just happened tonight?
Well, I completely agree. This sets us up for a fantastic Glass Door Brewing 250. These Kirkwood Transportation Duels were two spectacular races. I mean, race number 1 went caution-free. Awesome to see that at Daytona. You don't often see a caution-free race here, even though it was only, I believe, 38 laps in length. It was spectacular. Side-by-side action for most of that one. And then race number 2, a little bit more action, a little bit more accidents, but nonetheless, that's what you come to expect when you come to a Subaru Speedway. And I think it really speaks to the talent of the drivers here in the Hacksaw PC's Premier Series. A lot of these drivers get vetted with a preseason season, so to speak, where a lot of these drivers have to obtain their permission to obtain a Premier Series license. So there's a lot of vetting that goes on with these drivers. So that's why the drivers in this field are not just your average run-of-the-mill drivers. These are very good drivers, and they're going to put on a show this year. So make sure you like and subscribe to 3Wide TV, and make sure you check out American Sim Racing's website online. Got to give a shout out to some of our sponsors before we go. Hacksaw PC, of course, for jumping on board, sponsoring the championship this year. Surf Pro, DB Sim Racing, American Regardless. I know Jim Foose has always talked about American Regardless closed, so go check out their website. Glass Door Brewing, Victory Lane Quick Oil Change, Kirkwood Transportation, Patriot Media and Marketing, Step Tire. Go to steptire.com. Some pretty cool shoes that are basically recycled. So it's recycled rubber from tires that they put into shoes. So a very eco-friendly option for some shoe wear there. And Falcon Race Reps for also jumping on board for a series sponsors for the American Sim Racing Series. And got to give a few shout outs for us at 3 Wide TV. Got to give thanks to our friends over at Sim TV for the camera angles, and our friend Thomas Morris from OCR TV for the graphics package. But for myself, Peter Short, Charles Sears, and everyone here for American Sim Racing, want to give each and every one of you a good night. See ya!